Everyone. I thought today would be a great day to do an introduction video, and I found a great tag. It's called the BookTube Newbie tag, and I can't figure out who created this tag because when I go through the other BookTubers videos, I'm not seeing a credit for a particular person. But there's 10 questions, so I'm just going to go through the list, and I'll try to be succinct because I realized, when we get to question 7, I started writing out a whole list, and I realized, I'm just gonna keep it to one because I could make a whole separate video just answering that one question. I'll just save it for when we get there. So I'm just going to jump right in. So the first question in the BookTube newbie tag is, why did you start this channel? That's a great question. Mostly just because I love talking about books, and in my day-to-day life as a special ed teacher in the high school, just even with friends and family members, I'm just constantly talking about books. I'm constantly talking about books even to people who don't care about books or who don't want to hear about books. I'm always walking around with a book as well. So most people will see me with a book in my hand wherever I go. We'll talk about that when we get to another question about that. So then other people will ask me about what I'm reading. So I figured because I love talking about books so much, why not try making a BookTube channel? Because I love watching BookTube channels. So if I'm not reading, I'm watching BookTube so that I can hear what other people have thought about the books that I read that I enjoyed, or even sometimes books I read that I didn't enjoy. Sometimes I use BookTube to sort of get inspired to figure out what I might want to read next. Although my lists are continuing to get really long now. I just want to start the channel just so I could be a part of that conversation and hopefully make some friends within the community and talk to other people about books in a larger sphere than just, the people I see on a day-to-day basis. Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to YouTube? I really kind of sat with this one for a little bit because I wasn't sure at first. But I actually think there's a couple of things that I can do that are a little bit different from other people, at least based on the YouTubers that I've seen. Recently, I've gotten really into community events in my state. I'm really lucky to live in New England, which has a really thriving book community in general. So I'm really getting into that scene offline more so than ever, which is funny because I joined BookTube because I wanted more of a community because I didn't feel like I had one near where I live. But now that I've done that, I'm finding, I'm meeting all these people and I'm going to these different book festivals and book fairs and book events and just meeting all kinds of people. So I love to be able to share my experiences at some of these book events in New England, but also to really hype up local authors, because at these events I'm meeting all kinds of cool authors, some who are not completely mainstream that people might have been hearing about on BookTube over and over again, because a lot of them are indie or self-published. So I really kind of want to bring more of a light to those people, because those are my people. I'm an aspiring writer. That's what I'm hoping to do sometime as well. And I really look up to these people and I want to support them in the work that they're doing because they're so inspiring to me. Other fun things that I'm thinking about bringing to YouTube, and I've done this a little bit with my writing my first cozy murder mystery series that I do from time to time with a monthly update. I don't want to say too much about this because it's going to be coming up in a newer video, but what I would like to do is some more targeted writing classes. They're not redone. I want to actually do them live and anyone can just show up and they'll be completely free. I figure as a teacher, I'm so used to lesson planning anyway, but what I am planning for is targeted writing lessons on craft for planning and revising, because I'm finding that in my own writing, I'm really kind of stuck, not in the idea phase or even the planning phase, but I will read back what I've written in a first draft and it will just be, it's awful. It really is terrible. I break all of the good rules of writing from what I've learned of craft. So I'm always info dumping. I'm not having enough description. My dialogue is bleh. And the story just kind of goes all over the place, not off track, but it's just, I feel sometimes I'm not sure how to get to point A to point B in a way that's fun and exciting and not boring. And then figuring out what to reveal versus what not to reveal. I get very overwhelmed by all of the elements of craft and how do you take this hunk of clay and chisel it down so that it can be really good. Because I know that the short story I'm working on right now is like a complete gut job. So what I would like to do, because I am really into anthologies, I think anthologies are really awesome. And what I'd like to do is use some of those for myself as like a master class in like how to write. So taking my draft, looking at what not to copy at all, but to look at targeted short stories in the collections of what I notice that these authors are doing such a great job at, and then applying those skills on a weekly basis to my writing. So that way I'm not getting overwhelmed. Thinking about this and planning like, okay, who did characterization really well that I thought did it in this like really unique way, really analyzing that, and then coming up with some exercises to help me push my writing forward. The way I'm kind of figuring this, because this is going to be coming up soon, is that I'm not going to be like reading those short stories to you. I'm not going to giving spoilers on those stories. It's more like we get together and I'll go through the exercises with you all. But if you wanted to participate, I hope you do. But you would actually be encouraged to bring your own short story to the event. Come prepared with one that's inspiring to you, because I'm on a horror kick right now. What I'm writing about might not jive with what you are working on right now. And you might be into totally different short stories than I am. So it's more like we'd all come prepared with the materials that we want to use. And I would make an intro video talking about all of this. And then I would just kind of walk us through step by step. And they would be like quiet writing and thinking and all of that stuff. So we just kind of be going through the process together. That's what I'm sort of envisioning at this point. So I think that that would be kind of fun and unique to do. Not that other people aren't already doing like writing sprints or making videos where they're talking about craft, but this would be a little bit different. And I'm still in my thought phase on this, but I do want to hit the ground running with it soon, because I actually want to start applying these things for myself. And I figured, well, if I'm going to do it for myself anyway, like I'll just bring you all along for the ride too. And if you're down for it, cool. And if you're not, that's totally fine. So question 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? That's kind of similar to me to like, why did I start the channel? I guess I'm most excited about seeing the channel grow, I guess, and like having more conversations in the chats and like meeting new other people, because I love when other people like leave me comments and we can kind of go back and forth. Like I want to build a community. I want to meet other people. That's what I'm probably like the most excited about, is just, I would love for when I go live to have the same people come around and we're talking about the books that we're reading and the writing that we're doing, and just kind of building out a sense of community there, because I actually feel like a little bit stuck right now in terms of like where I fall in the writing continuum. I went to an event yesterday with Sisters Creme and they were like talking about critique groups and encouraging me to do that, but I don't feel like I'm even ready to be critiqued yet. So it's sort of like, I'm still in the stages of like, I'm not ready to show anyone my work. So that can be a little bit of a struggle. So I thought it'd be nice to use the channel to kind of connect with other people who don't feel ready for their work to be seen and critiqued by other people for feedback yet also. And then we can just be working on improving our stuff until we feel more comfortable with where it's at to get it there. Question 4, when did you start reading? I guess I started reading probably in preschool, and when they first teach you your alphabet and in kindergarten. That's such like an interesting question to me, because I've just always been reading for as like long as I can remember. Yeah, I mean, I still can vividly conjure up like reading groups and like learning phonics and the books that we even read in classes. So I remember one of the first novels that we read as a whole class in elementary school was Stuart Little. And we obviously did Charlotte's Web as well. So those are a couple ones that stand out. And then I also remember these like textbook reading primers. So I feel like that's when I started reading, was in school, but also my mom would take me and my little brother to 2 different libraries in our neighborhood. We had like 2 on either end of our town. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I've always been reading since I was very little. To me, asking me why I love reading is sort of asking me why I breathe. I have to. It's just like a part of who I am. It's the longest relationship that I've ever had, besides like with myself and my parents, because, I've been with them since day one. That's like really how it feels for me, because I have ADHD. So I'm always like into things, and I have gone through like so many different hobbies and activities in my life, but reading is the only constant in my life besides my family. I do it every day. I've done it every day for years. It's just, I feel like I can't really separate myself from reading. It's why I went to college to become an English major and then got my master's in English. I just have always loved books, talking about books, reading books, writing about books, analyzing books, wanting to write books. So I just feel like my love of all things literary are just there, whether they're novels, short stories, poetry, nonfiction. I mean, I just love it all. So, and why do I love it? I guess that's so hard to answer because it's so deeply ingrained to me, but it's just like brought me so much joy in my life. It's just, I love being able to jump into another world. And I love learning new things and I love seeing other different perspectives. So I just like get everything. My brain just really enjoys reading. And then question 6 is, what book or series got you into reading? So because I have been a reader since I was so young, I was thinking back on this and I did write a little list. But the first book I absolutely remember loving as a child was Go Dog Go by P.D. Eastman. I read that book like all the time. That was like the first book I can remember like falling deeply in love with. I don't know why. I think I also just loved the pictures in it. So I just loved Go Dog Go. And some of the other books or series that I wrote down were like Amelia Bedelia. You can tell like I grew up in the 80s and 90s. The Berenstain Bears. I probably like read their entire collections. The Little Miss and the like Little Mister books, which I think my kids also have those collections. Judy Blume. I've read everything by Judy Blume. I read a little bit of R.L. Stine, but I also like really devoured Christopher Pike in probably like middle school. And then, another great kids book that I loved and I reread like a million times was The Monster at the end of this book, where it was like Rover from Sesame Street. I found that book like so hilarious. So those are all the ones that like got me into reading, I guess. I can't really like just pinpoint like one, but I've been reading since childhood, so I figured I would just, talk about the books that I enjoyed as a kid. And those are just some of them. I mean, my list would be way longer than that. All right. So question 7. What questions would you ask your favorite booktuber? So this is where like I was pre-planning this video and starting to write a list of booktubers and then I was like categorizing them. So I like general booktubers. I kind of talk about everything, horror ones, cozies. And I was like, we're going to be here for more than an hour just on this question. So I forced myself to pick one booktuber and that would be Jordin Reads. And she mostly does horror books. And I picked her because she definitely is my favorite booktuber. I like, not that I don't look forward to all the other booktubers that I watch, but I really look forward to her because she's so hilarious. She's inappropriate. She swears. She says like funny things. And she has like almost like this persona. So she refers to everybody as Tiffany or, my siblings in Christ and like all these other like funny, irreverent things. And she just kind of comes across as she's like having a really good time. And I love all the books that she shares and talks about. I love the way she introduces books. So when she's talking about her book recommendations or what she's planning on reading, it's like, she's taking on this role and I don't know how to put it, almost like she's an actress talking about these books in the way she like introduces them. They're just hilarious. They're so entertaining. She's really the best. So, I don't know if I have a direct question for Jordin. It's more like I would love to like actually meet her in real life to know, is this like a persona? Like it almost makes me think of like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, because that was just like her persona that she displayed in like all of her movies and her show, but like that's not who she is in real life. That was just like a character she took on. So I'm curious if like Jordin is who she is like on BookTube in real life, or if that's just more of a persona. But either way, I love it. It's she's so charismatic and just so funny. And I just love how like she just plays up for the camera and I just enjoy it. Like I laugh out loud when I watch her videos and her recommendations are always spot on. So we like a lot of the same books. And yeah, so if you haven't heard of Jordin Reads, like, you know, get on that because she's hilarious and she talks about mostly horror books, but also she talks about some manga too. It's sort of a variety there. And she definitely loves books that have like LGBTQ rep and all of that. So definitely a great channel. And then question 8, what challenges of sticking, no, can't even read my own handwriting. That's embarrassing. And I'm not going to edit that out, but it's true. My handwriting is off. All right. What challenges of starting a BookTube channel do you think will be hardest to overcome? And I feel like for me, it's mostly like my own internal challenges and with my ADHD as well. I wrote down a couple notes for myself. So with the ADHD would come the consistency. I've been doing like my best to, always have at least one video a week on Sundays, regardless. But that has been a challenge for me. I do it, but I think this part comes with some of my other internal challenges of like the editing and being okay with the quality of my videos as they are, because I don't have a lot of time to spend on editing as much as I would like. The last video I made before the live, I spent hours editing that and I was like proud of that, but I really don't have the time to edit out all of my uhs, likes, heavy breathing, all of that. It takes so much time. I find it really boring, tedious, to be honest. But I do it because I feel like that's the only way people are going to enjoy my content is if it looks good, if it's professional enough. But I'm a teacher. I'm a busy mom. I'm trying to write. I'm trying to, I go to therapy every week. I'm trying to, take care of myself and my health and do all the things that are part of my everyday life. But I do take the BookTube channel seriously. Whenever I do anything, I'm like kind of all in, like with perfectionistic tendencies. So I feel like those are the challenges of a BookTube channel is some of my like, rejection sensitivity stuff along, feeling like my videos aren't good enough. So therefore, like people aren't going to watch it. Is when I look at the analytics, it shows me like, I'll make a video and they're usually around a half hour, sometimes more, sometimes less. And I'm spending hours in my free time when I should be doing other things, editing. And then when I look at the analytics, it'll show like the average viewer duration was like 3 minutes. And I'm like, okay, so people are like watching 3 minutes worth of this video. It's 30 minutes. And it does. It like makes me feel like crap. And I know it shouldn't. Like I know when I was looking into other, like I was going down Reddit holes about this, like that's actually pretty common. It's weird because I don't relate to that because when I watch or listen to BookTube, I will just turn someone's video on and I might not be like sitting there like watching it directly, but I'll be like listening to it from start to finish while I'm like cleaning or listening to it during my commute or folding laundry or things like that. So it never occurs to me to just like click on a video, watch for a couple minutes, skip around in it. Even though I have ADHD too, like it just wouldn't occur to me to do that for some reason. But I guess that's how like the majority of people watch or listen to YouTube, especially in like now that we're in the day of YouTube Shorts and TikTok, like people have less attention for like longer form content, even though, to me, like 30 minutes isn't that long, but I guess maybe it is. I don't know. So all of that is like a real challenge for me is like, how do I keep up with this when I feel like I only have a certain amount of time and energy to put into it? And then I feel like people are just not going to really watch it because the quality isn't that great compared to like all the other amazing booktubers that I watch. And then therefore, like, I'm not really going to grow. So then I feel like, is that the best use of my time when I know that there's like a whole other, like, there's a whole bunch of other goals and other things that I want to be doing as well. So, I mean, that's part of my ADHD is always trying to figure out like what I want to prioritize because you only have a limited amount of time each day and you can only do so much in a lifetime. I'd love to be able to do it all, but I can't. So it's like, what are the things that are going to be most fulfilling to me that I can actually like move forward with? So that's really what it comes down to when it comes to the challenges for me and starting a BookTube channel. I'm sure there's like a ton I need to learn to make my videos better, but that's just like not a priority for me right now. So thanks for watching my, low budget, low quality channel. And then question 9, where do you read? So I read everywhere. Read everywhere. Like you will find me with a book on me at all times, in my work backpack, in my purse, in my car, in my hand when I'm walking around, because you just never know when you're going to have some free time to read. So I bring a book with me to work, which is silly because like I always tell myself, oh yeah, like take your lunch break and like read during lunch. But I only get 20 minutes and I'm always working through my lunch. But it just comforts me to know that I have a book with me just in case. I read before my yoga classes start. So I get there a little bit early and I can usually like get in a chapter before the class starts. I read in this office sometimes. If I'm just like too lazy to go back downstairs because I have all these like books like right next to me and around me. So that's easy enough. And then I read in bed every night. Sometimes I read in bed in the morning when I wake up. So I read on planes. I read during vacation. I'm like a total book nerd. So anywhere I go on family vacation, we always look for like a used bookstore, an independent bookstore in that area. And I'll always get books on vacation. And yeah, so I read everywhere. And then last but not least, question 10, what kind of books do you read? So I know so far on this channel, I've really like sort of highlighted cozies and horror, but that's just because that's what I'm really into right now. I am a mood reader and things change all the time. So I am a little bit nervous that like, for as long as I'm hyper focused on horror right now, like people are going to think, oh, this is a horror channel, but it's not. It's just that that's what I'm really into right now. So there were times like last year that I was like really into classics and just wanting to like reread all of these classics I'd read in high school or read classics I hadn't read before. And so I was like down that rabbit hole. I pretty much like read everything and anything. So let me think. I do mostly read horror, thrillers, cozies, um, in anything within that genre because I do like paranormal, but I'll read like other cozies with hooks that are interesting to me if they're like knitting ones or ones about books or writers or teachers. I love memoirs. So I've got one that I'll be talking about soon. What else? So classics would be another, mythology retellings. Sometimes I'm into YA. Sometimes I'm into science fiction. So it just really depends. So I just, if something sounds interesting to me, I'll just go for it. I'm very eclectic that way. I guess the only things I don't really read are graphic novels, I guess, or manga. Um, I don't read as much poetry anymore either. I really just kind of stick to novels and short stories. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions for me that you'd like me to answer to get to know me a little bit better, just leave them in the chat and I will answer them. And let me know if you'd be interested in that course that I'm thinking of making. I'm planning on it being like a live stream event where we do it together in real time, but you'd always be able to, just watch the videos after and do it by yourself. It's totally fine. But if that sounds kind of interesting to you, definitely let me know. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.